Letchworth Village was home to many mentally and physically disabled patients. Someone by the name of William Letchworth came up with the idea of a place where people with disabilities could live and be treated. Spread over 2,000 acres of land was built a mental institution to separate the disabled from the rest of the world. In Rockland County, New York, there were over 130 buildings residing over 2,000 patients. There were once plans to expand the institution prior to opening day, but they all came to an end once William Letchworth passed away. A year after the death, in 1911, the village opened and quickly faced problems with overcrowding and understaffing.
And once inside, that feeling became suddenly appropriate. Congressman Mario Biaggi had planned an official tour of the facility for 10 o'clock in the morning.
We don't have enough clothing. We don't have the proper help to keep clothing on them.
What appears to be the worst possible conditions I've ever seen in my life. Nothing's like it. I've never seen anything like it.
About 25.
Each building on the property housed around 70 patients crammed between the walls. The village began declining, with rumors of patients being abused, fed a lack of food, and being treated very badly. The adults who lived there would work on nearby farms growing crops, while the kids would receive an education. Dr. Charles took over the institution due to William Letchworth's death, and he believed disabled patients should be separated from the rest of the world. Later in the 1940s, they began to test the polio vaccine on patients against their will. Geraldo Rivera exposed the horrible conditions at Letchworth Village to millions of people on his TV show. He called this a horror show in real life.
The doctor had warned me that it would be bad. It was horrible. There was one attendant for perhaps 50 severely and profoundly retarded children, and the children, lying on the floor naked and smeared with their own feces, they were making a pitiful sound, a kind of mournful wail that it's impossible for me to forget. This is what it looked like, this is what it sounded like, but how can I tell you about the way it smelled? It smelled of filth, it smelled of disease, and it smelled of death.
In the early 1960s, the village began to expand to over 5,000 patients, when the institution was only big enough to store 2,000. As they continued to import more patients over time, that led to overcrowding, causing filthy conditions. Patients would sleep on mattresses in the hallway floors and were lucky if they were fed enough for the day. The institution also faced understaffing, where the patients wouldn't get the attention that was needed. It's said that hundreds of patients actually died within the walls of these homes. There were also several counts of rape inside the facility, and it's said that the spirits of the children still come back and haunt the place to this day. The conditions just kept getting worse and worse, to the point where in 1996, Letchworth Village shut down for good. Today, the institution sits abandoned and has plans to be demolished in the future. If you want to learn more about the dark history behind abandoned buildings, make sure to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below.